Behind me are 34 books, all of which, and many, many more, could fit on this little device. This device being the Kindle Paperwhite 10. And although this may seem like I'm leading up to say that this is a review of the Kindle Paperwhite 10, I want this video to also be a review of the concept of a Kindle. Because when it came to my decision-making process of to Kindle or not to Kindle, the questions I was asking had nothing to do about what model should I get. Rather, should I get an e-reader at all? Will I enjoy the e-reader / Kindle experience? So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you all the things that I've learned about my Kindle, the little quirks, the pros and cons, and all the things that have made me fall in love with this little device over this last year, in the hopes that if you are somebody who has also met that fork in the road that is to Kindle or not to Kindle, that this video will hopefully help you decide on which way to go. Hey y'all, it's Annelies, and like I said, I've had my Kindle for about a year. I got it right before I moved to the UK, because I moved from California to London in September of 2021, and right before that, for like a year prior to that, I had really gotten myself back into reading, and I didn't want to lose my reading momentum, if you will, but I knew I couldn't bring my full bookshelf of books with me. So I figured the easiest way to continue reading until I either 1, had built up my collection again, but 2, could continue building up my collection without adding to the weight load of my collection was a Kindle. And I gotta tell you right now, after this last year of having and using this thing, I've learned a lot about it, figured out its quirks, but ultimately, I really love it. So yes, spoiler, I do love my Kindle, but I want to tell you why I love it. So I have a list of pros and cons. Let's go ahead and get started with the cons. So number 1 on my cons list is that there is no expandable storage for the Kindle. Now, that was my biggest fear or concern when it came to purchasing a Kindle, because the idea that I'm just locked into whatever storage size I got, and then at the time not knowing how much storage a book took up, I was a little bit concerned if storage would be an actual concern. The model I got is the 8GB model, and after doing some research into how much storage books actually took up, I was no longer concerned. So just to give you some insight, I have 16 books currently on my Kindle, ranging anywhere from 300 pages to 800 pages. As of right now, I am taking up 464 megabytes of storage, which is less than a half of a gigabyte. So although the fact that the Kindle has no expandable storage is on my cons list, I highly doubt I would ever need to expand it. Because let's say I kept buying books from Kindle or something like that. First of all, if you buy a book from Kindle, you can delete it and then re-download it at any time because it stays in your purchases. But secondly, if I was, let's say, downloading books from another website, getting books from the library, which yes, that's a thing you can do, and I'll talk about that when we get to the pros. Once again, you're either recycling through books, you're taking books off your Kindle, and ultimately, I don't think anybody is reading more than like 200 books at a time. Because I did the math, and that's about how many, 300, 400 pagers you could fit onto an 8GB Kindle. So yes, you can't expand the storage, but then I combat my own con with the question, do you need to expand your storage? Another con about the Kindle, which is me being a little bit nitpicky and only applies to the Paperwhite 10 because I learned that the Paperwhite 11 has this, is that there is no USB-C charging on the Paperwhite 10. It is micro USB. Now once again, not a super big con, and you're gonna see that as a theme through a lot of my cons because of the fact that I guarantee you, if you get a Kindle, you probably own something else that also charges with micro USB. This is just me complaining because I think everything at this point should be USB-C. It'll make Apple users happy, it'll make Windows users happy, it'll make anybody who uses any piece of technology happy to have a fully universal cable. So is micro USB really a problem? No, but if you're looking at getting the Paperwhite 10, just know that that is how it charges. And don't worry, you do get the charging cable with the Kindle, so in case if you somehow don't have something micro USB in your home, you will be able to charge it. The next con on my list is something that I mentioned that also takes up my storage, is audiobooks. I have 4 books that I've gotten from Audible over the years, and I somehow, or automatically it did it, I don't know, but I downloaded them onto my Kindle, which I thought was, oh cool, I can have audiobooks on my Kindle and then use the audiobook when I'm reading the book I have the book for. So the book that I was trying to read and listen to the audiobook for, because that's personally how I like doing audiobooks, I like listening and reading at the same time, it was for a book called Cultish by Amanda Montell, and I had just been recently gifted the audiobook. I had gotten the ebook from the library, so I was like, cool, let's start reading. And I figured out that you can only do one or the other on the Kindle. You can either read or you can listen to the audiobook. There is no both. So when you go to the player on the Kindle, it takes you away from the book pages, and then when you go back to the book pages, it stops the audiobook. The solution to that is listening to the audiobook on your phone or your mobile device or something, and then reading along on your Kindle. So once again, not that big of a problem, but that's just something I think is kind of silly that they don't have it yet. Maybe they'll fix it someday. I don't know, but I would say that is like one of the silliest non-features. Like, I just don't get why that's not a thing on the Kindle. My next con is that there is a tiny learning curve when it comes to the Kindle, because as you might be able to tell, there are no buttons on the front of this device. There is a button at the bottom to like lock it and turn it off. Otherwise, when it comes to interacting with it, especially when you're on the reading screen, there's no buttons, there's no icons, there's no arrows, there's no nothing. So you kind of have to remember not only the gestures, but then what the gestures do. So there's a pull down from the top, a pull up from the bottom, and then a tap at the top that all bring you different menus. And I'm not somebody who uses my Kindle every day, and I would even argue every week. So I'm not using it as much as somebody else might. And I think that is part of the reason why I'm still not familiar with the gestures, because they just haven't become muscle memory yet. So it is very much a thing that you'll just have to remember what it is, because there is nothing at the top of the screen indicating you to go home is this way or whatever. So you have to just kind of remember that. But then when I think about it, on like my iPhone XS, when that first came out and they got rid of the home button, I was able to remember that swiping up brought me to my home screen and there was no signaling for that. So it's just a matter of getting more used to it. But I would say this device interacts much differently than any device I currently own or have ever owned. Maybe it feels a little similar to my Palm Pad, but there's buttons on that. Do you guys remember our Palm reader? Palm Pad? Like the little personal assistant thing? Oh, those were good. Okay, I've gotten to my last con, and this is the one that I take the most seriously, even though it feels the most silly. And that is the ads on the Kindle. Now this is, I believe, also an ad on the Kindle. That it's not bad. It's fine. It's just a picture of a book cover, right? There's nothing that could be annoying or frustrating with that. And also, when I say an ad, you can get either an ad-free version of the Kindle or a no ads version of the Kindle. And the only ads you ever get are on your lock screen. So it's not like you're interrupting your reading and getting an ad, just so you don't get concerned that you're gonna get a pop-up every 20 pages or something. What the ads are is advertising different books that you can go read or download or whatever. The ads free version is like 10 bucks more than the ad version, and so I was like, okay, whatever, I'll get the ad version. That's not gonna be a problem, right? You can't choose what ads come up on your lock screen, and the ads are also not curated to anything that you read. So this is actually the recommended for you screen, which you'll get when you kind of like wake up your Kindle, but it's not like after you've freshly opened it. And I don't know how to like prompt an ad on here. The main problem is I keep getting an ad for a book that has a very sultry man on the front of it that's like staring down the barrel of the camera. And I'm not a huge fan of when I'm, I don't know, on public transit on a packed tube, there's people sitting next to me, and I flip open my Kindle page and there is a man with an aggressively sharp jawline biting his lip and staring into my eyes. If you want to read those types of books, this is a judgment-free zone. However, you know what's not a judgment-free zone? The London public transit, or anywhere in public. So I don't want to be sitting on a tube and then have somebody next to me see me open up my Kindle, because you know, we're looking at our periphery, whatever. Maybe somebody sees me move my bright Kindle cover and they're like, oh, what's over there? And then your eyes just get attracted to things, you know? And then I flip open the cover and there's a man who looks like Fabio on the back of a horse riding shirtless with his hair blowing in the wind. They're gonna now start thinking something about me and what book I'm reading if they don't know that that's an ad. And in reality, I'm just reading a book about cults. You know, I just don't want that judgment projected onto me. And unfortunately with these ads, I'm getting them. I have footage from a different video of this ad, so I'll try to insert it now. It's this one. This is the cover. Stop letting this man show up on my Kindle. Do you know how it is to be in public and have this be on my Kindle? I don't want it. I don't want it. Okay. But if I could go back in time and spend the extra $10 to get the ads-free version, so I would never have to look an awkward book cover in the face again, oh yeah, I'd pay 20 bucks. I'd even pay 30 bucks to never have an uncomfortable ad look at me again. So this is just my warning to you. Buy the ad-free version. It's worth it. So that's it for my cons. As y'all could tell, they weren't really that sequential. Is that even the right way to use that word? They're not that big of a deal, but there's still things I wanted to know. And when it comes to things I wanted to know, I also want to talk about just the formatting of the Kindle before moving on to the pros, because something that I didn't know is that you could really customize how the Kindle looks. So once you figure out the gestures and all that fun, oh my god, see, I'm doing it again. So once you figure out the gestures and all that fun stuff, you can go in and change the font of your Kindle, like changing it from Bookerly to Helvetica to Futura to Bakersville. There's tons of font options on here, so if you don't like the way that my Kindle looks, you can customize it to you, as well as making the font bolder. You can make the font larger or smaller. You can also change the way that the Kindle is laid out, whether you want it up or down or horizontally. You can also change the margins or how spaced out the lines are. There are a lot of ways to customize the reading experience, which is another bonus of having a digital book, because obviously when a book is printed, you don't get any say in how that looks, but you can really change how it looks on your Kindle, which I think is cool. Another thing to note, which I think is on any Kindle, is the page turning is just simply tapping the edge of the screen, and it does a whole little refresh of the screen, but then it moves you on to the next page. Now, when it comes to the border around the screen, that's kind of like where I put my thumb, and although I wouldn't recommend it, if you do accidentally put your finger on the screen and you're worried about turning the page, like, it typically doesn't happen for me. I think it more so responds to like the tapping motion for a page turn. But even if you do accidentally turn the page, you just go back. All right, with all that out of the way, let's get into the part you've been looking forward to, hopefully, is the pros. So of course, the pro of a Kindle, like I mentioned earlier, is it's extremely lightweight, which also means it's really easy to handle. Now, I have relatively large hands, but I can hold this in just one hand really tight. And even if I held it more like a phone, one, it still fits in my hand. I don't feel like it's gonna go anywhere. You can get a case like mine that has a little holdy strap. I've seen people put pop sockets on the back of their Kindles. There's plenty of ways to make sure it stays in your hand, but it's also not too slippery of a device either. But what I like about its lightweight is that if I'm holding it kind of like this, like I would my phone, my hand never gets tired. My wrist or my fingers never get exhausted from holding up the weight of a Kindle. For example, I have Tina Fey's Bossy Pants, which is the paperback book. It's just about 300 pages, and I looked it up, and I believe, if this is correct, it is 255 grams. So it's lighter than a paperback book, which means it's gonna be really great for long reads, especially when I'm on public transit or when I'm reading in general. I like to have the book up close to my face so that way I'm not hunching forward. And once again, I've never felt uncomfortable with the weight or shape of this device. Another pro is the insanely long battery life. Now, I believe the Paperwhite 10 has a 6-week long battery. Yeah, 6 weeks. Weeks. Yeah, I said weeks. That's insane. And then the Paperwhite 11, I think it's a 12-week battery. So essentially, I never charge this thing. I think since having it, I've charged it 3 or 4 times, maybe. And I actually just got the notification that it needs to be charged, which I think is like the 4th time that I'll charge it the entire time that I've owned it. Just jumping in for a quick little update, I have used my Kindle substantially more since filming this video. I would say I use it almost every day on my commute to school. That's about an hour, and sometimes I'll use it on the way home. So I'm using it 1 to 2 hours every weekday, sometimes on the weekends, and even still with all that, I think I'm charging it maybe once a month. I'm not even gonna be sure about that because I feel like I rarely charge this thing. So the battery life is amazing. Obviously I'm charging it more because I'm using it more, but nonetheless, this battery is insane. So if you were ever part of that argument of like, well, a book never dies, it doesn't have a battery. Well, I mean, frankly, a Kindle never dies either. Darn near. When it comes to getting books on your Kindle, of course you can buy books from Amazon, but there are multiple ways to get books on here, in particular for free, other than a free Kindle book. First of all is an app that you can get on your computer. I believe it's called like Kindle Dashboard, or I don't know what the name of it is. I'll put it up on screen here. But you can get it off of Amazon's website, and what this app does is helps you send any book or PDF that you have on your computer to your Kindle. So for instance, for me, I have a lot of PDFs from school. I've been able to get free books from websites like Project Gutenberg, and I've wanted to have them on my Kindle. So with the help of that app, I just send them on over, and now they're stored on here so I can keep all of my books, especially all of my school books, in one place. Another way you can get free books on your Kindle is by going through your public library. Now I'm gonna say right now, I don't know if this is a thing that exists outside of the United States. However, if you have a public library card, if you live in America, you can sign up for this app/website called Libby or Overdrive. I've heard it referred to as both, and I think both names are for the same platform, but on my phone it's called Libby. Maybe Overdrive is the old name, but regardless, Libby is a way to access my public library, which is the Sacramento Public Library, on my phone, and as long as I have a library card, I can get access to thousands, as many as the library has, of not only ebooks, but audiobooks as well, which I think is super cool. So you can download an audiobook to play within the Libby app, but if you go onto the Libby app and you filter by read with Kindle, you can download books that will go straight to your freaking Kindle. Before my friend told me this, like a month ago, I thought the only way you could get books on your Kindle was through the PDF downloader app on your computer, or by just buying them from Amazon. So the only books I had on here were books that I either had purchased from Amazon or that I had gotten for free from Amazon, as well as the PDFs that I had gotten from my computer. And then I'm on the tube one day with my friend who's also reading her Kindle, and she tells me, yeah, you know, you just get your library card, link it up to the Libby app, you can zap books over to your Kindle in no time, and my mind was blown. So if you live in the States, one, it's super easy and free to get a library card. You can do it all online. They email you your library card number, and then you sign into the Libby app and you are good to go. That is how I've read so many books over, honestly, this last month, is just by getting library books on my Kindle. It's so cool, and it makes reading so much more accessible. Because maybe you're somebody who can't drive to the library, or you can't get to the library because you live too far from one, or you're like me and you're maybe like thousands of miles in a large body of water away from your public library. You can bring the library to you. I feel like this is a thing that is not talked about enough. So please tell your friends, tell your enemies, I don't care, but you can get free library books on your Kindle, and it just makes the cost that you put into buying a Kindle, in my opinion, way more worth it when all the books you're getting are free. Because that was the other thing too. I didn't want to buy books on Kindle when I could just buy the physical copy and then I have a physical thing to prove for it. Why would I want to buy this digital book? I'd rather have the book I'm going to pay for sitting on my shelf if I have to fork out the money for it. But if it's one that you're renting from the library, and I get my loans for like 21 days or so, that's plenty of time to finish a book in. I wish I would have known about this sooner. I would have read so many books by now. Another thing when it comes to getting free books, or sharing books if you will, is something that I discovered while fumbling through the settings trying to figure out how much storage I used on my Kindle in preparation for this video. So there's a feature on the Kindle called Family Library, where you and another adult and up to 4 children can kind of like link all of your accounts in this Kindle library setup, and through that you can share all of the stuff in your library. Now I do not know if this applies only to things purchased from Kindle, or if it's what's in your Kindle library point blank period, so that includes PDFs and book loans. I would assume the book loan thing probably wouldn't work, but potentially the PDFs, I'm not sure. But if you are somebody who has already been investing in Kindle books because maybe you bought them for your mobile device, like myself, I've bought books for school in the Kindle app on my iPad because I needed a book for school and I didn't want to lug the thing around, and I was already lugging my iPad around, but I wasn't like reading for fun in the way that I am with my Kindle, you know? So maybe you and your partner have been investing in Kindle books. Now there's a way where you guys can like merge your libraries and at least share the wealth of the things that you've already bought, so nobody's buying things twice, so you don't have to trade Kindles, like you can use your own. So that was another thing I wanted to add on that I thought was a cool feature that once again nobody talks about. And the last thing that I wanted to mention that I absolutely love about the Kindle is that it is so easy on the eyes. Like I just mentioned, I've used Kindle for years but on my iPad, and the reason why I never like read for fun on my iPad is because the reason why I like reading, and kind of what has made me fall so much in love with reading over the last couple of years, is that it's an escape from a screen. Because I'm on my iPad doing work, I'm on my computer editing, I'm on my phone all the time doing God knows what, I'm watching Apple TV. I feel like screens are around me all the time, and so it's so nice to take a break from that with a real book. And so when I was thinking about getting a Kindle, the reason why I was thinking about getting a Kindle is because I had heard so much about the screen on a Kindle. And then I went into a store to kind of like see it for real, and I was like, you know what, I think this is gonna be good. And it has been great. If you're not familiar with a Kindle screen, as you can see, I've got like 3 studio lights around me, and there's not really a glare no matter how much I turn this screen. I recently took my Kindle to Greece. I was sitting on the beach reading books, living my absolute best life, I'm not gonna lie. lie, but no matter where the sun moved, no matter how bright it was outside, I was never not able to read my book. Now, the ink in a Kindle screen is called e-ink, and I think, I'm not sure, so don't quote me on this, but I think that's why the screen kind of takes a moment to refresh, is because there's like literal ink or e-ink in the screen moving all over the place. But I think that's also why the background is not like that blue light that you get from a device. Now, you can make the background brighter, but it's not bright in the way that like you brighten an iPad. So let me show you. So right now my Kindle is at a 0 brightness, but if I move it up all the way up to a 24, which is really handy for when you're reading in dark situations, it's not making like everything brighter, it's making the background brighter. So now there's a more stark contrast between my text and the paper, if you will, that's behind it. Now, I know with the new model, you can make it more like an amber tone if you want, and this is slightly a blue light, but honestly, even when I'm reading at night, I have it at maybe like a 6 to 10 brightness range, which makes it just clear enough to read in the dark so you're not straining your eyes, but it's also not this aggressive light in your face as you're potentially trying to get ready to go to bed. I would say if you're considering a Kindle, go into your local Target or Best Buy or Walmart or whatever retailer sells them in person, because they typically have them out and on with the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. But I have to say, I don't know how the hell they did it, but I think this is the closest thing you're gonna get to reading a physical book. I've never had my eyes get tired from this screen. I've never had any sort of like, oh, I need to take a break because this is just too much, it's too bright, harder to read. No, none of that. So if you're concerned that a Kindle screen might be too screeny for you, if that's a word, I don't think it's anything to worry about, and I think you're gonna be wildly impressed with the Kindle's e-ink screen. So with that, I think I've gone through everything about the Kindle, good, quirky, bad, whatever it may be. But if y'all can't tell from this video and from what I literally said like 2 minutes in, I love my Kindle and I would highly recommend it to anybody who's considering getting one. It's a small, compact way to take your reading on the go. It's great for if you're moving or low on space, and having that access to getting library books on here makes reading more accessible. Of course, there is this cost of entry when it comes to purchasing the Kindle itself, and I know the new model is not cheap. I got mine for like 80 bucks and that was on sale, and also right before a new model, the first refresh in 3 years was going to happen. But check out Facebook Marketplace, check out your retailers that might have older models of things, and I have to be honest and say, if I had the choice between the new Kindle and the current Kindle, I think I would opt for the new one just because some of the features. However, now that I know the new one's out, I'm not gonna try to sell my Kindle or get the new one in any way. I'm perfectly pleased with the one I already have, and I'm excited to get even more and more use out of it and read more and more books, because I've really fallen in love with reading, and I'm glad that I now have a Kindle so that way I can take my love of reading on the go. So like I said up top, whether you're somebody who's considering the Kindle Paperwhite 10 or just considering a Kindle in general, I hope this video was helpful or informational for you, or at the very least entertaining, and I hope you had a good time hanging out with me. Thank you so much for spending your time with me and watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, please like the video. It really supports me and my channel, as well as subscribing. That's also a big help. And if you want to find another way to really support my channel, you can go to patreon.com/Annelies and become a patron of this channel. The names you're seeing on screen now are my lovely, beautiful, generous top tier patrons. These are the Mabel and the Ethel tiers, which are the $5 and $10 tier. That gets your name tattooed on the end of all of my videos, as well as the Ethels get a special thank you in the description box of this video. So if you want to support me on my Patreon, see what exclusive things I have on my Patreon, or get a little shout out at the end of my videos, patreon.com/Annelies is the place to do that. And thank you so much to all of my top tier patrons, as well as all of my patrons of past, present, and future. Well, y'all, that is it for me. Stay beautiful, have a marvelous day, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye!